Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to Peace Fund Radio with Ethan Dettenmaier and Adrian Paul, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh, o'er the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtails ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to laugh and sing a sleighing song tonight. Ooh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Ooh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Ooh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh, o'er the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtails ring, they're making spirits bright. What fun it is to laugh and sing a sleighing song tonight. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Ooh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Let's jingle all the way.
Yeah.
That sounded good, didn't it?
It sounded fantastic.
I think that was just like the end of Jingle Bells.
I feel like I've just seen those artists.
Jingle, what you just did this past weekend.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, you did. Awesome event, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome
it was
event.
awesome because you were there, my friend.
No. I had nothing to do with it.
That
I just
event
went
did
there.
not start until Adrian Paul arrived on the red carpet, and then all of a sudden we had an event.
Yeah, right. No, I mean, you had some great artists there. It was, very well put together, and obviously a lot of support. You raised a lot of toys for the kids, I saw.
Yeah, the toy drive part of it went well. The fundraising part of it actually went really well. And you never know how these things are going to go, especially when you're in an uncharted piece of territory like Valencia. But what was cool about it was, see, there you go. That's your agent calling you now. But what was good about it was everyone got involved in the spirit of the whole thing. And maybe it's the holidays, but if you wanted to find what Christmas spirit was, it was definitely that day.
Yeah, it was really, seriously,
everyone was in a great mood. It was, even the chaos was like overcome by a lot of laughing and fun. And did your family have a good time?
Yeah, the chaos was there when my son was there. That was chaos.
I missed that.
Where's he gone? Oh, he's over there.
Did he have a good time though?
Yeah, he had a blast. He actually kept wanting to go out and see the music. The person he was so enamored by was who's the guy from not Star Wars, the black and red?
Oh yeah, Darth Maul. Yes,
Darth Maul.
He's a crowd pleaser. Maul does our Christmas breakfast for homeless kids every year.
Well, what was really funny is that you see Darth Maul. He's got spikies on his head. He's like, "What's that?" And he touched his spikes and stuff, and he did all that stuff, and then he goes to the mall the next day. Pardon the pun, but went to the mall the next day and saw Captain America and was absolutely petrified by the guy.
Really?
And he loves Captain America.
Well,
like,
it is
really?
this, almost imperialistic icon. America, boom. No, I'm kidding, of course.
Well, no, I mean, the funny thing is he's also the person playing Captain America. Apparently this guy was a bit of a very strange dude. I mean,
Well, that is true. You do kind of put personality through the barrier of a costume out into the environment. I do agree with that. But I got to say, Maul, for being a perfect-looking Maul, I mean, like right off the set, type them all. He has got a great personality with people. I mean, he is a complete comedian, and I saw him. I think there's more red carpet photos of him.
Well, yeah, because everybody wanted to take a picture with him. Absolutely, everybody wanted to take a picture with him.
Just absolutely genius. And I got to point it out, that's a naval veteran friend of mine, Chris Cecil, who...
He's done a lot for you, actually. I've seen he's been a couple of you.
Yeah, heart of gold when it comes to charity causes. I mean, everyone, from doing some high-profile events, and you've got a great one coming up on the 6th and the 7th, just when people show up and just lend their support to it and say, I'm here to have a good time, that in itself is huge.
Yeah, I know.
That's just huge. So when you guys walked up, when he showed up and everyone said this is about the kids, that was kind of the biggest deal. I mean, it's semi-hilarious now after the fact, because I feel like tell me if this is true on your end too, because we both do major events for charities. You have done a lot more than I have, but I kind of feel like backstage with all these epic rock and roll personalities, when equipment was being changed out and people were trying to sound check and this was that and that needed to be moved and drums aren't going to make it, drop a new kit, call this guy, have a kit dropped off, and you're dealing with all that, then I finally got to a point where I'm like, this succeeds if we even pull this show off.
Yeah, I know.
At that point, we've won.
That was exactly the way I felt with the poker event when we just did. Like, I got to the Friday, I'm like, if we just pull it off.
If cards are dealt, we've won. Then if we get something in for the kids, then we're really ahead of the game. Because I walked away going, I actually said at one point, I said, if we get through this without a homicide, we're big winners today. We're big winners. And I got to tell you, a lot of the veteran personalities who are total pros, yourself, Quentin Flynn, Yuri Lowenthal, who was our MC, Tara Platt, all these guys who got involved, they were great. All the artists, the Hall of Fame artists were great and laid back. It was, the mall people and the security that had never seen anything like this that are like, wait a minute. You can't put this Marshall cabinet here. Somebody needs to approve this. And you're like, wait a minute, buddy. Just step to the left. You're out of control on this one. It's happening.
Yeah, but you see, that's the same thing. It's the same thing as people on doors. It's the same thing as casting directors. It's because they have the power to say no.
Yeah.
And they have to validate the job that they're doing somehow, and that's what ends up happening. They sometimes overstep their mark.
I'm going to tell you, this show isn't about this, but I'm going to say one 10-second story that pretty much sums it up. Backstage was one of the acts, which is the International Swingers, which is made up of Gary Twin, James Stevenson of The Cult and The Alarm, and 72% of the world's bands, played in everyone from Generation X and Billy Idol, Clem Burke, the drummer of Blondie, and some of the members of the Sex Pistols. And backstage, they were hilarious because there was a sponsored tequila bar, Tributo Tequila, very generous to get involved. It was if I would have filmed that, I would have had YouTube gold on my hands. If I would have filmed those British rockers at that tequila bar, and it was totally what you'd expect in hilarity,
exactly, right.
And energy. And the funny thing is, walking out, I walked him out and said, "Okay, you're wanted. Let's go." And I walked him out. My mom is right outside the front door watching.
I didn't meet
the show.
your mom.
No, you didn't.
I didn't meet your mom.
Oh, I should have introduced you. She would have loved you. My mom was there, and I stopped and I said, "Okay, everyone, they're totally rowdy. They're coming from a tequila bar." And I said, "Oh, everyone meet." Hey, this is my mom. Say hi real quick. And they all suddenly reverend up. And they were like, oh, very nice to meet you. No, you're not his mom. You're his sister. Very nice to meet you. Charmed to meet you. Brilliant to meet you. Thank you so much.
And like,
I couldn't believe it. And then as soon as they got on stage, man, it was like a canister of napalm exploded up there. And I said, that's just the most amazing thing I've ever seen. The complete emotional transition of British
Moms
rockers.
do that to people. Moms do that to people.
It was just, and they all stopped and made sure they shook her hand and bowed. And I was like, wait. And she goes, what nice young lads. And I said, Mom, honestly, that's the nicest I've ever seen them. I've never seen them behave like that anywhere else, Mom. Brilliant. But that was kind of the spirit of the entire show, which was everyone, including yourself, said, let's just support it. Let's roll with it. And I'm actually looking forward to the good the Peace Fund does coming up on the 6th and 7th, because I know you're going through the same thing. And honestly, it's logistically much more ambitious than anything I've ever done. So I'm eager to see it work.
Yeah, I'm eager to see it work. Well, talking about music, I mean, we deal with musicians, etc. Music therapy and kids is really important. It was, it's when they actually started this. I mean, I know we use music in our lives all the time to enjoy music, but it's actually used as therapy, and it started in the University of Michigan in 1944.
Wow,
way back. It helps people with different conditions: depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, even severe brain trauma, and children with the autism spectrum, seniors suffering with Alzheimer's. It's shown to help so many different things. And I've got a couple of facts here. Doris Jennett, a psychologist in Philadelphia, says music is an age-old way to heal, and it works exceedingly well for children with ADHD. Music reduces the anxiety you have in your body, and when you're talking about kids with ADHD symptoms, all they have is anxiety. Wow, that kind of... Can you imagine that walking around? I mean, I have anxiety sometimes at the moment with the Peace Fund games, but that's an entirely different level to walk around with that.
To get you through it? Sometimes I do.
Actually, sometimes, seriously, you have to go and do something to sort of mellow out. When I hear music and I chill out, I'm just like, okay, that just calms the nerves a little bit, and I think... Wouldn't be bad to have it in office. Office is a lot more, except for elevator music, kind of kills me.
Well, it depends who's picking the elevator music, quite frankly.
Yeah, music therapy, it's one of the great pluses of it is that kids that don't need any musical talent to benefit from it. That's the great thing about it. They just have to listen to it. And sometimes kids with ADHD are actually quite creative, and that therapy can bring out some hidden musical talents, in fact. So it's kind of an interesting effect that music actually helps them. I mean, it's the Mozart effect, isn't it? Really, it's that whole...
That's funny because that's exactly who I just thought of when you started talking about the work of the University of Michigan is Mozart.
Well, I know that when I put classical music on for my child, my son, it sends him asleep.
Which sometimes is
I'm just saying
what you want to
No,
happen.
but it's the point of it being calming. It can be, and studies actually suggest that listening to classical music actually might increase IQ. So that's an interesting, and they do call it the Mozart effect. So it's kind of an interesting thing. Around American children ages 4 to 17, there's 6.4 million of them that have been diagnosed with ADHD. And I think one of them sat here because I've got a piece of chewing gum sat underneath the table here. Really pleasant. Currently, 6.1% of all American children are being treated for ADHD with medication. Some states have higher rates of treatment with medication than others. And it's males that actually are 3 times more likely to be diagnosed with ADHD than females. The average diagnosis is 7 years old. The sale of stimulants to treat it have more than doubled, 9 billion in 2012 from 4 billion in 2007. Now, here we go to something else, there have got to be treatments that don't necessarily use the stimulants as the necessary a treatment for it. I mean, because to me, I think it's some of that's pushed on people. I hear so many people say, "I'm taking this pill, I'm taking that pill. My heart is that." I'm like, really?
Right, and that one pill probably creates another 40 side effects.
Exactly. We talked about that this week, last week, regarding cancer. How some of these things that actually it's food that you need. That ADHD is slightly different, but it also comes from a chemical imbalance. Things like pregnant mothers who smoke when they're in labour. When they're I know. I saw that look you've just given me because my sister-in-law did it, and my nephew had ADHD when he was younger. Because of that fact, and that is irresponsible of people to do.
I agree.
Why it's not about you anymore. Let's jump the track a little bit. The train's going in another direction. It's got to be about something and somebody else. If you're going to have a child, you've got to actually at least for 9 months get off of that smoking, and then possibly if you're breastfeeding, stay off it for another 6 months, a month. And then at that point, maybe you won't smoke anymore, because secondhand smoke is actually a worse killer than regular smoking. So. Anyway, let's get off that. But we're just talking about stimulants and not everything else. But so let's talk about music therapy. Therapy. Cool. And actually, we're going to have a guest on the show in a second. We're going to bring on a lovely young lady, Jocelyn Cheng. And Jocelyn has used music. She's actually one of our past. She's a call-in hero, Jocelyn, but she's dealt with
we
music.
like call-in heroes.
We like Jocelyn. Yeah, we like call-in heroes. It's actually, she's actually created. She's played piano for 10 years and flute for 8. She's done a lot of different things, and how and why. We're going to talk to her about how and why she became a musician, and why she decided to do it. And how it changed her look in the world. So we're calling her in a second, but I just want to get to the point about what does music work? How does it work in therapy? Music is a core function in the brain. Our brains are primed early to respond to process music, and research has shown that even day-old infants they can actually detect differences in rhythmic patterns. So mothers across cultures and throughout time have used lullabies and rhythmic rocking to calm crying babies. I know I've done that a lot.
So would you say that we have a psychological response to music?
Yeah, I think there is a psychological from a very early age. I mean, as you can see, we use lullabies. I mean, I know there are certain things I would rock my kids to sleep with, and it does help. There's a certain rhythm. We walk. I mean, babies when they're inside our bodies, not our bodies, women's bodies, because it doesn't work with us, does it? But there is a rhythm. They hear the sounds. There's a rhythm inside that, even though it might be.
Yeah,
that sound.
With that, yeah.
There is a sound. There is a rhythm that is immediate from the moment that they're conceived. So to hear music, that's another level of how it can calm. The brain. I mean, actually, from an evolutionary standpoint, music actually precedes language.
Yeah.
We didn't actually start talking. We started banging things. So our brains are wired to respond to music, even though it's not essential for our survival. So there is something that when you're talking about it being psychological, I think yes, it does affect that very much. Any parent knows that it's natural for a child to begin dancing and singing at an early age. And I watch my kids actually doing it now. My son's actually got a lot of rhythm. He's already kind of like jamming. It's kind of funny. It's different than my daughter, but anyway, it's not even unusual for kids to start rocking to music before they even turn 1. So you talk about psychological responses. Every time you breathe, your breathing quickens, your heart rate increases, or you feel a shiver down your spine. That's your body responding psychologically to music. So qualified music therapists can actually use this to stimulate a person in a coma, or even use music effectively to help someone relax.
Which is why so many movies that aren't scary are scary.
Exactly. The minute you put music attached to it, I just got offered one this morning that I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do. Can you imagine that? I worked last week as well.
Yeah. That's a good problem to have, though.
But the thing is you have. I mean, I've watched dailies on films, and yeah, it's kind of like, it could be scary. The minute you put the music to it, the Jaws, for instance, you immediately know that sound. You're like, oh my God, it's coming. It immediately has a psychological response to you, right? So, I think it's very very important to understand the importance of music. I think we should try and get hold of Jocelyn.
Let's try.
Maybe it's Jocelyn. Maybe I'm going to have to say it right.
Yeah, wow.
Jocelyn.
We're
I would say
about to
Jocelyn.
Find out on the air.
Did I actually make a boo-boo?
No, well, we'll see.
Okay.
I'm getting her now. It's interesting. While I'm doing this, I want to tell you, I saw an experiment once in college, actually, and I went to college for a brief time, not to shock everyone, where they showed a camera movement of a dark hallway, and they played first the music to The Shining, and then they played the music to Led Zeppelin. Just so you can get.
And it had a totally different response, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's fairly obvious what you'd expect from it, that kind of thing. But anyway, here we go. Let's see if we can make this happen.
Find out about music synapses, music structure.
Hopefully, I dialed the right number. I pulled it from the synopsis.
Yes. Well, hopefully they. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Is this Jocelyn Cheng?
It is.
Good morning, Jocelyn. This is Adrian Paul and Ethan Dettenmaier from Peace Farm Radio. How are you this morning?
I'm doing very well, thank you. We're just starting to prepare for the holiday tomorrow.
Ah, yes. I think everybody's doing that. They're probably basting the turkeys or whatever else they're. What are you having for Thanksgiving tomorrow?
Oh, we are going to have the traditional turkey and maybe a roast beef.
Ah, a little beef in there. It's interesting. I think Thanksgiving is actually a much more celebrated holiday than the Christmas period. Funnily enough, I think there's second to this. It's a big run up to Christmas now, isn't it?
It certainly is.
So you've played piano for 10 years and flute for 8. I mean, can you tell me what your history with music is and why you decided to become a musician?
Well, I was fortunate enough to come from a musical family. My older brother and my older sister actually played piano before I did, and my 6-year-old self couldn't stand the thought of not being able to do something that I couldn't. So I started playing piano shortly after. As for flute, I have always loved the instrument because it looks beautiful and it sounds beautiful. And most importantly, it gets all the orchestra solos.
It's funny because I actually played recorder when I was a kid, which I loved. But it was similar to the flute, but the flute you play sideways and the recorder you play upward. But I loved the sound of it too. I thought it was a great sound.
Now, I actually also played recorder when I was in 3rd grade. It was like a little introduction to flute.
Right. Yes, exactly. I'm sure it's similar, but a wind instrument. As per se. When you started learning and playing music, how did it change the way you looked at things?
It did. It definitely changed my perspective, not only on how I viewed the world, but also on how I viewed other people. I have met so many different people through music, whether in band programs or in lessons, on the street, or in Message for the Future, the program that I am currently president of, that I would have never met otherwise. And I feel as if music is the one thing that really connects me to all these different people. So
you learned music not by yourself, but you learned it in school or through instructors?
I did a little bit of both. I have taken mostly private lessons for piano, but I actually was introduced to flute by my school's band program.
Well, there's a lot of music programs are being cut, and we've dealt with music a lot on this show through one of our ambassadors, actually Kimberly Morse, who's actually on our advisory board. She actually has a program where she's taken musical instruments into schools because schools have actually lost their musical programs. Have you ever experienced that? Did any of these cuts affect you?
Although none of the schools that I have attended have ever lost their music programs entirely, our music programs have definitely felt the budget cuts. The jazz programs are no longer subsidized by the school, meaning that it's very expensive for any kid to participate in them. And the music classrooms are actually the only ones in the school that don't have working projectors. I feel as if the school administrations always place music at sort of the bottom of the educational totem pole, whether they're making jazz a little more expensive or cutting the musical program entirely, which is such a shame considering how significant music is in our daily lives.
Now, you're the co-president of the Massachusetts chapter of Music for Measures, correct?
I am.
Yes. And so tell me how this started. Tell me, I know it was founded in December 2010 by Derek Chang. Are you related?
He is. He's actually my older brother.
Ah, it's your older brother. Okay. And Mike Hansen, right?
Yes.
So you got involved because of them, or I mean, obviously you learned about it very quickly.
My older brother did introduce me to the organization, and what's actually really fascinating is Measures for the Future actually started off as sort of a jazz combo. Mike and Derek were originally going to create a band to play at social events, but one day they actually played at a homeless shelter for children, and they realized that they could make a huge impact on these kids for playing for all these children who haven't had the same opportunities that they had been given, and that's how Measures for the Future was really born. So
you basically take music into places that don't have it. Is that how the organization works?
Yes.
I see. Okay.
So, as you mentioned earlier, a lot of schools are suffering from these budget cuts and therefore don't have a music program anymore. So our mission is to find kids who don't have exposure to music and bring them music.
And so how do you find them?
Usually we reach out in a sort of communal way. We have branches located around us, and what we do is we reach out to our surroundings. We find homeless shelters in our area. We find places where low-income people send their children for the daytime, and we perform at those venues.
Mm-hmm. So what do you find when the kids get this? How do children respond? Do they want to learn music? Do they go and learn music? Do they join your organization? Do they just say, "Oh, well, that was nice, and I'm leaving"? What's the response you get?
Well, when we first walk into any performance or any event, I've seen a pretty wide range of behavior. Sometimes there are kids that are a little wild, sometimes they're very well behaved, but usually once we start music, there's like this universal quality. They all pay attention, they all suddenly look at us, and there's that connection right there. So the children respond very well to the music, or at least the children at all of our events. You mentioned other people who would perhaps join Measures for the Future. Usually they are very supportive of our cause, and we do gain a lot of members when they sort of see what we do and want to join us.
So it's interesting because earlier on in the show I talked about how even prior to a primal level of actual discussing language, we were able in the way thousands, tens of thousands of years ago, we responded to each other through music, in a sense. So what you're saying is very interesting, that even today, when you walk in and you talk to people, they're not listening, but the minute you start playing, people look up and start taking notice. So it's a very interesting, it actually supports that theory. You're co-president of the Massachusetts chapter, as I mentioned. What sort of duties do you have in that position?
We have a lot of administrative duties. We must contact these places that we perform at. We have to, of course, find new members and make sure that we still have programs in years to come. We make a couple phone calls here and there to make sure that we have events to go to. And, of course, our primary job is spreading our musical message to those around us.
Right. What do you think is the biggest challenge facing music education today? What do you think that is, given that you kind of live in that world?
Well, the economic obstacles facing music in terms of school budgeting are certainly difficult challenges for music education today. Mm-hmm. But I feel as if the mentality behind the budget cuts, that music isn't a core class, that music isn't academic or important enough to spend a few minutes a week on, that is the real issue.
So how do we fix it?
We need to spread the word that music is important and it's relevant to education, and give those with no access to music opportunities to listen. Whether this means visiting shelter after shelter or contacting different organizational groups, we are going to accomplish this one measure at a time.
So, a couple of last questions, because I don't want to keep you too long. What advice would you give other young people who want to start their own organizations?
I feel like the main problem that other people have when they want to start their own organizations is that you feel very small. You feel as if you won't be able to make a big difference in the world if you're only one person. But here at Measures, we've realized that every step we take is a major one. Every single person we touch is a life that is changed, and if you weather through the initial days of forming your own organization, you can create something that is absolutely amazing.
And where can people find music Measures for the Future?
You can find our website at www.measuresforthefuture.org.
Measuresforthefuture.org. Fabulous.
.org.
.org, yeah. I say org.org, This is the way I say it. I'm from a different country. Jocelyn, thank you. And I had this discussion with Ethan just before. Is it Jocelyn or Jocelyn? How do you say it?
Jocelyn,
okay, because everybody has it slightly different. Jocelyn, thank you so much for coming on this morning, and and please keep up the great work at Measures for the Future. You're our Peace Fund hero, radio heroes of the week. You are amazing, so thank you so much, and keep it up.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.
Good job.
Bye.
So. There we go. Measures for the Future. I think we should have John Beardy talking about Heroes of the Week. I think we need,
He's here to do it.
I'm sure.
Yes.
Is he there? Is he in the background? Is he? There he is.
Yes. Good morning, gentlemen.
How are you this morning?
I'm doing very well. Very well. Excited to be on episode. Is this 103? I think of Peace Fund Radio.
Oh gosh. 104 will be just before the Peace Fund Games. Dun, 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 dun. Anyway, John, how's your week been? Has it been good?
It has been very good. It's been busy getting ready for the influx of family and celebrating for the rest of the Thanksgiving weekend. Very, very thankful as always to be a part of the Peace Fund Radio team. I still every week can't believe that I get to be a part of this. I still can't believe I get to come on the air and tell these stories. It's always a pleasure, always an honor.
Well, the funny thing you're talking about, Thanksgiving and that, I've been so slammed. I actually asked my wife, what day is it on this week? She's like, it's tomorrow, honey. We've got to get the stuff done. I'm like, oh, dear. Oops. Anyway, what updates do you have for us, John, this morning?
Well, first of all, I wanted to send my thanks to Jocelyn for coming on the show. I had spoken yesterday to Derek Cheng of Measures to the Future, and he had put me in touch with Jocelyn. And again, she was very, very giving of her time today. We had first talked about Measures of the Future back on our May 29th, 2013 show when we had highlighted one of the previous members, Michelle Dewan, as our Hero of the Week. And, she had worked with Measures for the Future. She'd done a lot of other work in her community as well. And, Jocelyn, of course, is the president of their Massachusetts chapter. She's a senior at Oliver Ames High School in North Eaton, Massachusetts. And she's done, all kinds of great work in the community. If you go to their website, measuresforthefuture.org, and you click on their members, you can read biographical information about their current board members, all of whom are high school students who are giving so much of their time and their talent by going out into the community and teaching music to children who otherwise might not never have experienced it. They have an ongoing program with the Brockton Boys and Girls Club, where over the course of several months they will visit the children at the Boys and Girls Club. They will teach them instruments, teach them about musical theory and everything else, and set it up to where at the end of the school year in June, the children at the Brockton Boys and Girls Club will put on a little concert using the musical knowledge that they have learned from the team at Measures for the Future, which I think is just absolutely wonderful and exciting that these kids get to experience music. They get to be taught something valuable that they can carry with them forever. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And we've been really lucky, I think, on the show to have had lots of heroes of the week and lots of guests who have talked about the importance of musical education. You had mentioned Kimberly Moore's ongoing program. Back on our February 12th show of this year, we had Cindy Cowan and David Wish from Little Kids Rock, who have done a lot of work in the community as well by stressing the importance and enabling the power of musical education for young children. And I have a really exciting update about our Hero of the Week from that February 12th show. This is very exciting, and this is something that actually involves the listeners of Peace Fund Radio. Back on that February 12th show, we talked about Ethan Cruikshank. He was our Hero of the Week.
Another Ethan,
He's from Hanover County, Virginia. I'm sorry?
Another Ethan, right? Just
another Ethan, yes. Ethan was 7 years old when he fell in love with music. By the time he was 9 years old, he had mastered the guitar. And he became so mesmerized by the dramatic size of the viola that he wanted to learn that instrument when he was only 10 years old. Now, just when Ethan started to learn how to play the viola, his school's music program was canceled right out from under him. So right then and there, at the age of 10, mind you, Ethan decides, if my school can't teach kids music, I'm going to do it myself. So Ethan recruits his fellow music students. They reach out to the instructors that they had learned from over the years. And at 10 years old, Ethan puts together this volunteer force of music teachers who have taught over 75 children how to play guitar, piano, flute, saxophone, violin, and viola in his Music to My Ears program. You can read all about it at musictomyearshanover.org. And the cool thing is, if you go to this website and you sign up to be a volunteer, you can actually learn how to do anything at this website. If you want to volunteer, he'll tell you what to do. If you are a parent whose child wants to learn an instrument, but you can't afford the instrument, Ethan will tell you what to do. He has all kinds of resources to help parents find musical instruments and find musical education for their children. Now, a few weeks ago, I had asked our listeners on the show to help Ethan out. Ethan is 15 years old now. He was a nominee for a scholarship contest that was sponsored by Montage Hotels, and we asked you to go to their website and vote for Ethan. I got an email from Ethan earlier this week asking me to send his deepest thanks to the Peace Fund Radio listeners who logged onto the website, who voted for Ethan, and put him in the top 5, where he won a $10,000 scholarship because of the listeners of this program who stepped up to the plate and helped him out. So congratulations to Ethan, and I want to send my deepest thanks to all of the greatest listeners on the planet who listen to our show every week, who went on the website and helped Ethan out. You are helping one of our previous heroes of the week continue the incredible work that he is doing for children. So thank you, listeners.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's 2 Ethan heroes I've had in 1 week. Ethan Dettenmaier.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
That's how I look at myself.
No, but absolutely. That's just so awesome. I love hearing about things like this. It's music to my ears.
Yes.
But
God, that's 2 I've done today. That's ridiculous. Maybe I'm tired.
they're getting better, though.
Was that a good one? I don't
Not
think
really,
so.
but
I don't
I
really
said it's
think
getting better.
Oh dear, that really puts me in a really low position, doesn't it? There are other organisations that are making a difference. There's Music Works NW, the Music Works Northwest, is a non-profit community music school offering music lessons, music therapy, and performance experiences for all ages. Their mission is to enrich the quality of life for children of all ages through accessible music education and experiences. They address the needs of a wide variety of individuals, including children, adolescents, adults, and early with autism, Parkinson's, Down syndrome, developmental delays, and other special needs. So check them out. There's also MusicSuiteMusic.org, founded that contracts with specially trained board-certified music therapists to treat children in hospitals, rehabilitation clinics, and foster care in the greater Tampa Bay area. So if you're in that area, please check them out. They're doing very good work. The also is the Fender Music Foundation. That's fendermusicfoundation.org, a music charity funded by people who want to strengthen the state of music education, which we discussed earlier. A lot of schools are losing those programs. People who believe music is an integral part of the society and want to make music more accessible to everyone. Donations they receive allows them to provide instruments to school classrooms after school programs and music therapy programs have closed or are not available. They select programs that are in need, ongoing, sustainable, and give more people the opportunity to make music. Important. Music is important. So those are places you can check if you are at all interested in giving your children some musical developmental learning abilities. So, Ethan, I think you should just sort of mention, you've got a couple of things coming up right now for kids as well. You've got the toy drive, the Christmas breakfast for the homeless. What have you got going on?
Well, December 6th is our annual Combat Radio Christmas event for homeless children, which you've been gracious enough to support and attend in the past. It's where we bus in Polar Express style about 300 to 400 kids through social services and their parents. And we also include the Shelter for Domestic Violence and 2 other local homeless shelters, so we can get pretty busy. It's a good cause, and it's a fun cause, and it's a chance to do some good. And the concert we just did was, in fact, to benefit social services and to raise some toys.
So this is really just a breakfast, and it's not for the general public.
No, it's not for the general public. You have to volunteer, and that there is a process to that because this is for the social services and there's children. But I have to say, given what I've seen, your planning and logistics at the Peace Fund Games, I would encourage people to be a part of that, actually. Our event is close to the public, and you might as well get out there and do some good. And quite frankly, you found a very fun way to do it down in Oceanside, 2 days worth of total chaos. And I would have to say, people, if you're looking to do something good on the 6th or 6/7th, that's probably the event, the Peace Fund Games. I think it's...
Yeah, well, as you're also looking for volunteers that might want to, be part of the games, to actually help you with down in Oceanside. If you are, go to www.thepeacefundgames.org and go to the contact page, and you find it. It's probably under games at peacefundgames.org. That's the contact address. And you can possibly send us your information. And if you're down there, we'd love to hear from you. And, there's going to be a lot of stuff going on. We've got a band playing. We've got, We've got the Marines coming out, possibly. We've got a lot of celebrities coming out. There are a lot of cool games. And the updates to the site, you've got to keep checking the updates to the pages because we've got new graphics going on there. We've got new ways now how you can sponsor people online. That's the cool thing. You can actually, much like we did Peace Fund Poker, we were actually able to get the people to support the players. We're doing the same thing there. If you are somebody that's online, you can actually, it's very simple. You go to the sponsor page where it says sponsor a player, and you look, you decide what type of sponsorship you want to actually use, and then and each one of those is a different amount, because it could be something like, a team needs an early start in the competition, or a delayed start for the opposition, or to remove a player for a moment, or different things. And you help that team with these cards that they will use during the tournament or during the actual play on the Sunday. The 2 days are different. So first of all, you choose the type of card or the sponsorship that you want to do. Some are $10, some are $20, some are $30, $50, and then you choose the day. Obviously, you've got to look at the day because the different sponsorships are different, and then choose the player you want to give it to, and that player will be able to use it. And then you just sit back and you will actually be able to see what happens, because we're going to be sending the feeds live back to you so you can see it. And we might even have people responding saying, oh, thanks, Jim, for that card. I really needed to get in the game early because I took out X and Y when I did that. Or, no, it didn't work. I really screwed up when I played it. So it's actually a tactical thing that you can actually give the players. It's a really cool way of doing this. And I think we're really excited about it, because I think we're going to be able to sort of have a different level of paintball than anybody's really experienced before. So
I got to tell. Well, here's what I would say about it: seeing the work that's gone into it, but also seeing what you've got planned for people. It's probably not just one of the cooler charity events with epic things to do, but certainly, I mean, what a great deal right around holiday time. I mean, it's literally 2 days for nothing.
Well, pretty much. But the other great thing is, if you've got, hey, guys, if you are part of a company, or if you are, your bosses haven't given you your Christmas party yet, go down to the Peace Fund Games. It'll be, we'll give group discounts for you. And, if you come down there, we will actually be able to, great way to have an office party instead of actually, spending it inside, an office somewhere to have your party. It's a great communal way to do it. It's helping kids at the same time, meeting celebrities and having fun. So
you get a lot for a pretty, I would say, economic donation. I would use the term economic.
Yeah, you'll see on the site there are different ways you can do it. I mean, if it's the general, if you want to come and play on the Sunday, it's only $49, and you can actually come on the Saturday and play in the Saturday as well. That's playing on the open tournaments. If you want to do some of the challenges, we got a bow and arrow challenge, for instance.
That's cool.
It's a bow and arrow paintball that you actually have to hit the targets, and the ones that does it in the quickest time, hitting the most amount of targets, wins against a celebrity time. And then there's another one which is a sniper challenge where the celebrities are actually shooting at you, where you actually have to go through obstacles, get to the
other way around.
Exactly, where they get to shoot at you. And you've got to get to a rocket launcher, which is like a football with an arrow on the back of it, and you have to take out the tower that they're shooting from. The quickest time wins. And all these win prizes. You win prizes during the games as well. That's the great thing put up by some of our sponsors.
Can I ask you real quick, as far as these games are concerned, and I know everyone's throwing ideas at you, and that's one of the crazy things as you get down to the wire is everyone's got ideas. Maybe next year, you should, because it's always about next year, and this is clearly going to be a success, so I would encourage people to get tickets now, because I think it's going to sell out. But going into next year, if people sponsor a player, it'd be cool to have like a remote GoPro on the player.
We're going to be doing that.
Oh, you're doing that this year?
Yeah, we thought about doing that, but it's just logistically, it costs a lot of money to actually start putting feeds, etc. And we're working on that. Actually, we actually got a company that's possibly sponsoring our live feeds for us.
Very nice.
So we're looking at that process as well. There is a lot more. Again, this is the first time it's ever been attempted, so there are going to be a lot of teething problems. So it's an ambitious event. But we're really looking forward to it, because I think we've got a lot of great things put in place already, and we're just going to build on that for the next year, and it'll really, I think, going to kick off much like our poker event did. I'm actually talking right now about how our poker event is now going to go much bigger, and that's we are talking about that to casinos, etc. regarding that. Now, the great thing about it was that once people realized how they could actually get donations online, the celebrities were tweeting out not ad nauseum. Kelly O was like, she garnered, I think, $800, $900 just from tweeting. Yeah. You know, so you imagine doing 20, 30 people, 40, 50, 100 people doing that. All of a sudden, you're garnering a lot of money.
Yeah, that's the thing you and I understand about these events now, being veterans at doing it, is it's kind of like you get to a point where you're like, let's just pull the event off, and then we will regroup and we'll start putting things in place to improve what it can do, charitably speaking, and to make it more accessible. And you kind of go back and you have your debriefing. And that's what's exciting about it, though, because now you can join the Peace Fund games. Or our concert last week was the same way, where you can get involved in these events in the building stage, and you'll be able to say, you know, I was there when, you know, as it starts to get...
When it first started, yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I think
you're going to do well at it too, honestly.
Well, I think we'll do okay. You know, I mean, I'd like to.
I mean, you as a player.
Me as a player.
I've got some confidence in you. I'm a cynic at heart. It helps me cope with a lot of the things we deal with emotionally on the charitable front. But I would have to say, in all honesty, I've seen you on the soccer field. I've seen you week to week. I would say you're going to do probably pretty good at the actual game.
We'll see.
I'm going
to have to play a couple of times beforehand. I'm actually going down. I have to go down there early, like probably on the Wednesday, to start working logistics and doing meetings as to, you know, structure with our heads of departments. But
I was at the concert site every day.
I know, that's
going into that.
Exactly. You've got to go through that, because if, you know, the thing is, you can let people take care of it, but, you know, in reality, you want to make sure that it does go off, you know, well. And, you know, when we dealt with the poker event, I was very much involved in all the heads of departments, making sure that everything was taken care of. And it went very well because, you know, there was a lot of attention to detail. And I think people had fun because they had the right food, they were there to drink, they had the ability to have fun in a great space. Microsoft were very generous in giving us their hosting the event. And, you know, it's a good event to make sure that you're the head of, in a sense.
And you know what's great about doing Christmas events or events around Christmas? I will add this. All the players, all the people getting involved seem to have a better spirit of things than if you were doing this in the middle of May or June when everyone's like, you know, that was kind of true with us last week. And as everyone kind of overcame something and said, it's Christmas.
Right.
You're really going to get bit out of shape over your guitar, guitar cabinet, you know.
Exactly.
And everyone will be like, you're right.
That reminds me, maybe we should have a Christmas tree as one of the targets.
You should.
That could be kind of fun.
Well, here's the thing. You have it as a target, and then you raffle it off. Someone could take it home because it'll be decorated in paint.
Yeah,
probably highly flammable.
That's true.
But it'll be decorated, and they can win this. Hey, win the target that we've all
shot at. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know.
Well, anyway, I think we're going to be shutting the show down pretty soon now. So I just want to reiterate, today we've been talking a lot about music, about your event, Ethan, how the music has helped homeless kids. It helps a lot of other children and other people with learning disabilities, with ADHD, with different things. It provides structure, it fires up the synapses, and it is a social thing. It may be, you know, something that you are allowed to do without actually having to talk to somebody. There is no language barrier with music. So please get involved with the organizations we've talked about today. Turn off the TV, set the mood, bang a drum. You know, don't be a critic. Just let it go with the music. It's part of it all. I want to thank all the people that are part of, this will be the second to last one before the games and before the end of the year, probably. I'll be shooting off to Europe on the 9th by the looks of things, and I'll be talking to you from different places, England, Italy, Hungary. We'll be bringing the show live from there, which will be kind of fun. So thank you to all of you that have been able to keep us going for this year. We are now, thanks to the Speechley family, 2 years into having Peace Fund Radio. And Ethan, thank you for bringing this to us, and all the people that are behind the scenes that you don't hear of, but are essential to getting us going. Our volunteers, thank you so much. And again, if you want to volunteer for Peace Fund Games, please contact us through the website, and we'll see how we can get you involved. The closing quote today is from Scott Adams. Remember, there is no such thing as a small act of kindness. Every act creates a ripple with no logical end. This is Adrian Paul and Ethan Dettenmaier. We will talk to you next week.
You're listening to Peace Fund Radio with Ethan Dettenmaier and Adrian Paul, right here on LA Talk Radio.